Welcome to Here Comes the Boom, a KSR Plus and KSR recruiting podcast talking all things Kentucky basketball recruiting. It's transfer portal season. We're talking about all of Kentucky's potential targets. They've got one commit, Cam Williams. We have a video about him over on the KSR YouTube, so go check that out. Be sure to go and subscribe to KSR Plus, subscribe to the KSR YouTube channel. We've got tons of content coming your way. Let's talk about the potential targets. Before we talk about the two visitors, I want to talk about some of the guys that Kentucky is going after. And we have to start with Yaxel Lendenberg, the forward from UAB, the number one player in the transfer portal. Mark Pope went out to Chicago to visit with him basically as soon as he entered the portal. He's testing the draft waters. He averaged 17.7 points per game last season, 11.4 rebounds. He shot 52.2% from the field. He is the clear crown jewel of this transfer portal class, and everyone's going after him. Joe Tipton put out a list of schools, but the two schools that everyone's talking about right now are Kentucky and Michigan. And then Auburn is also in the mix there, but obviously they're playing in the Final Four this weekend. So it's an interesting scenario there because obviously, like I said, Auburn is playing in the Final Four, but Joe Tipton reported that Yaxel wants to make his decision by the end of this week. We'll see if that holds, but you have to feel good about Kentucky being in that top group of schools. We'll see if they're able to close. There's some talk about maybe Mark Pope having gone to see either Yaxel or his agent last night out in Minnesota. We're still working to confirm that, but he is the number one target for Kentucky right now and one we're watching very closely. Let's talk about a few other guys before we talk about the visitors. The one that I'm watching right now is Jaron Pierre from Jacksonville State. He heard from basically every big name school after entering the portal. He told me that Kentucky head coach Mark Pope and the entire staff have all been in touch with his agent, and we're still waiting for confirmation on if they have had an in-person meeting. That came last night. Obviously, the dead period, I should say, runs from April 3rd to April 10th. So that means there's no in-person meetings, no campus visits. So this is a good time for us to take a look at where things stand, look at who Kentucky's going after, and assess where they could move once this dead period ends. The last player I want to mention right now is Alvaro Falgueras. We've talked about him before, the forward from Robert Morris. He's still out in Spain, so Kentucky hasn't had any in-person meetings with him, but the staff did do a Zoom with him this week, and they've been pursuing him pretty hard, so I like where Kentucky stands there. You can go over to KSR Plus and see the full list of names that Kentucky's going after. It's a long list, but let's talk about the two visitors that they had on campus this week, starting with Taylor Bowen, forward from Florida State, a sophomore. He'll be a junior this upcoming season, and he visited, I believe that was on Tuesday. He was Kentucky's first official visitor. He averaged 8 points a game, 5.2 rebounds a game last season, but he's got a lot of upside. He's a great defender. He had a 1.5 blocks per game last season, which was, I believe, third in the ACC. So he's got a lot of upside. We're still waiting to hear back how that visit went, given that they also have another guy on campus who should be finishing up his visit today if he hasn't already, Mackenzie Mbako from Indiana. He got on campus on Wednesday. He's a 6'9" forward, former McDonald's All-American, one of the best players in that high school recruiting class, which I believe was 2024, I want to say. And he averaged 12.2 points a game last season, 4.6 rebounds. And he didn't shoot the ball quite as well as people expected coming out of high school, shooting at only 32.9% from the three-point line. But he could fill maybe an Andrew Carr type role if he were to commit. And then so both of those guys, I don't foresee Kentucky landing both of them. It's a possibility, of course, because they were both hosted for official visits. But I would think that Kentucky wants to land one of them and see which one takes the spot first. Right now, I kind of lean towards McKenzie being more likely than Taylor Bowen, but we'll have to see how that plays out. That's basically everyone. You got the 2 visitors. You got the guys that we mentioned that Kentucky's in contact with. We should be seeing some more Zoom set up, but no more in-person visits until the 10th. So things are quiet on that end. Now let's talk for a second about our sponsor, Fanstake. Be sure to head over to fanstake.com. Use the promo code KSR. They've still got the promo going for Nate Ament, who is still considering Kentucky, but we haven't heard a lot about him now that the transfer portal's picked up. But now you can go and choose your favorite portal target. Go put a promo on them. Go put some money on them, and we'll just take a look in a week from now and see what Kentucky transfer portal targets have the highest dollar amounts on Fanstake, and we'll see who Big Blue Nation really wants at Kentucky next season. Let's talk about my final thought. We haven't talked since Donovan Dent committed to UCLA over Kentucky. I want to talk about how my last week has gone, because I am a big fan of Big Blue Nation. I think that it is the greatest fan base in college basketball. But I have received some of the most horrendous messages on social media that I've ever received in my life. So I want to explain to you guys how all of this Donovan Dent stuff came to be. So it was last Thursday. I started receiving a lot of calls saying Kentucky has picked up a lot of momentum for Donovan Dent. The momentum has shifted in their direction. They are the favorite, and some even thought that it could be close to being done. I started at that point to hear about a lot of schools backing off. I heard that Kentucky had a $3 million NIL offer out to him, and I got a call saying, be ready. Something could be happening soon. I put that on the message board saying, be ready, and I got absolutely trashed for it because UCLA turned out to match that $3 million offer. The next day, I put on KSR Plus an intel piece saying that UCLA is still hanging around. They kept hanging around, and eventually, my sources tell me they went up to $3.2 million and were able to close the recruitment, close the commitment. Nothing really more Kentucky could have done except offer maybe a little bit more money. But if you don't think he's worth more than $3.2 million, which is a pretty absurd asking price for a player in the portal right now, then you can't really fault them for not matching that. I know that this is the loud minority of Big Blue Nation that's giving me hate on Twitter and Instagram. I'm still going to keep giving you great content over on KSR Plus, so be sure to go and subscribe. Subscribe to the KSR YouTube channel. Thank you to our sponsor, Fanstake, and we'll see you again soon.